Bismillah, alhamdulillah, salatu wassalamu ala Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My name is Tariq Khalid. I'd like to welcome you to our program here at Sharjah Media Corporation. Doing good, and we hope by Allah's mercy and grace that everyone who is viewing this program today is aware and conscious of the goodness that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has granted us, and that even in the simplest of things that there is oftentimes something that is beneficial, even though we may not understand it or we may not see it at that time, but that we're looking, of course, in the long term, if we put it in the correct perspective, that it will be something beneficial for us. But of course, it is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that allows us to understand this and opens our heart to it. And to do this, we must turn to Allah. And that is, of course, essential for all mankind, men and jinn, until the day of judgment. And of course, we're inviting everyone. And particularly now, as we see the course of world events, that we see that the time is running very rapidly. And I talk to so many people who say, yes, I realize this. And I ask a lot of young people, say, tell me about the time. How do you feel about this? And they say, well, you know, it seems like the days go so fast. And I remember when I was a youngster, I couldn't wait until I turned 18. It seemed like forever until I turned 18 years old so I could be considered an adult and do things that I wanted to do. So surely, without question, the time has changed. We need to look at that in relationship to where we stand today with our relationship with our Lord and where we will be tomorrow. And that's something that we all must take into account. Whether we like it, we don't like it, is a separate issue. But we need to deal with that reality that tomorrow is promised. Some people say tomorrow isn't promised. Tomorrow is promised. But the question we have to ask ourselves is, what will be my condition tomorrow? Will I be in a good status? Will my status be good? Or will it be upside down? If I consider myself today to be very fortunate in many different ways, will that good fortune follow me tomorrow? And that's a question we all need to ask ourselves. We need that reality. Some people, they say, well, you know, brother, don't talk about death, man. You know, life is short. Let's enjoy it as long as you can. And why are you talking about that? Prophet ﷺ reminded us about thinking about death because that's the next reality. Preparing yourself. If you're a believer, embrace it because you believe that returning to Allah with the correct understanding and practice will be a bounty for you. That the grave, the next phase of our existence, will be like a garden of paradise. And that far exceeds anything that we can have in this world. And that Allah will make it easy for us in the day of judgment, which will be the next phase. And then finally, either hellfire or paradise. And that ultimately, by Allah's permission and mercy, we will enter the paradise. So we believe this. And we're asking you, if you're not a believer, to embrace this belief for the sake of your own good, for the sake of your own soul. To understand, to comprehend. Today we have so much information and we have the ability to comprehend and facilitate change in our life, in many instances change in other people's lives. We have so many opportunities to do positive, good deeds, good things that are literally just at our fingertips today. So we need to ask ourselves, how many of us really think about these things? How many of us think about it on a daily basis? We keep reminding each other, listen, today, how many good deeds did I do today? Did I wake up in this morning and think about, okay, what am I going to do today? What's going to be the good deed that I'm going to do, starting from when I awake? Because maybe I wake and that's it. It's possible. Some people say, brother, why are you so hard? That's so critical. Brother, don't do that to me. You're scaring me to death. I says, well, the thing is we need that reality. And the signs are there, and all of us know the signs. All of us know the signs. We see kinds of behavior. We see a kind of violence that has become a global scenario. And this is a sign of the last days. We need to understand this. These things, regardless of all the other dynamics which are described, this is a secondary issue. And we're not going into that aspect of it. The reality is very simple. And we need to pay attention to this. The Prophet ﷺ, he said, more or less, in the last days, there will come a time where murder runs rampant. He did not say it was only going to be in one place, against one people. He didn't say anything about any dynamic in relationship to it. It's going to be these people against these people, or these people want these people's money. No, it didn't say these kinds of things. He just said it's going to run rampant. And we're seeing the beginning of this. It's a warning for us if we understand it. Do not underplay it. And also, we hope and we pray, of course, that we will not be the recipients. But at the same time, we need to be careful and understand what it is. And what did he say in relationships? Again, he said more or less, the killer will be asked, why did he kill? He would not be able to answer. The person who will be killed will ask, why was he killed? He would not be able to answer. So what does this say to us? There will be some kind of madness that's going on as we're beginning to see in our societies, in global society. What will be the salvation for a person? Salvation will be knowing who his Lord is, worshiping him as he is prescribed. This will be our protection. Under all circumstances, this will be the protection. If we are physically protected from harm, that is a mercy from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also. But if we are harmed, and may Allah forbid that for all of us, that also the protection from that is obeying the commandments of Allah. So we're saying this to people because we find that so many people throughout the world, their lives are being just horrible in many instances. Someone sent me a article, was actually a eulogy done for a youngster, a high school student, where his teacher was saying, in 23 years, he says, I talked to this young boy, he came to me, he says, teacher, I'm tired of being in the streets, I want to change my life. And the teacher told him, says, well, you need to get out of the street life, and you need to come to Islam. And this boy accepted Islam, but he was killed. And this was his eulogy. And the teacher says, in 23 years as a teacher, 46 of my male students have been killed. 23 years. So if we look at this, and these are teenagers in this particular situation, if we look at this regression of mankind, because I don't call it progress, it's regression of mankind, we need to address it, understand it clearly, and we should understand that we may not escape it. It's not necessarily limited to one place in this world, but we need to understand it and see what we can do about change in our life and those whom we can impact. And of course, ultimately, what erases evil? Good. Good. To erase evil, we must do good. So we must be the promoters of good, regardless of what other people do. We find that the Prophet ﷺ, under all circumstances, and of course, the most critical circumstances, that he invited people to what was good. And we need to understand something here. Where do we stand in relationship to this? And there's an interesting dua that the Prophet ﷺ made in relationship to this. And what happened was the Prophet ﷺ, his first effort to leave Mecca, he went to a place called Taif. And in Taif, he went to the people to invite them to Islam. And those people, they stoned him. They sent the ruffians to stone him, and they stoned him until he bled, until his shoes become filled with blood. And what did he do? He didn't ask for revenge. He didn't call on Allah, destroy these people. No, he didn't do that. So let's listen to what he said, more or less. O Allah, forgive my people as they do not know. And this collected Bible called him Muslim. He says, Oh Allah, forgive my people. Have mercy on them. Now, of course, today, those people from Taif, they're Muslims. Okay, this is in Saudi Arabia. Of course, these people are Muslims. But the other side, these are people who attacked the Prophet of Allah. Allah could have destroyed them, as an example. So, but we see the mercy that the Prophet ﷺ had in his heart. The understanding that people do not understand the harshness and brutality which we experience in today's world. The desire to do harm to other human beings, whomever they might be, and for whatever reason they might be. The threat of destroying other people for our own desires, satisfying our own desires. And we're not saying that this is a new thing. Of course, it is not new. It is very old. But the distinction is that today's world has become small. It has not shrunk in size. It didn't shrink at all. But modern conveniences, transportation, and technology have changed it, as you well know. You're listening to me now, and you could be any place in the world right now, and I'm sitting right here in Sharjah, in the UAE, in the Middle East, Arabian Peninsula. And you could be anywhere in the world. You could be in Alaska or down in New Zealand or South Pole, wherever it might be, as an example, and people are listening, and you're in a different time zone, you're in a different temperate zone. Your people have a different culture, different language, so many distinctions, but yet and still the communication is there. So we're asking the people, whomever sees our programs, first, if you're not a Muslim, first thing we're asking you, accept Islam before you die. And that means don't wait until you feel that you're going to die. And then you say, well, I'm going to accept Islam now because I'm afraid that I'm going to die. I know what that brother's been telling me all of these years. I've been listening to that brother. Tahir. I like what he says, but, I'm busy and, I have a lifestyle that, I'm doing some things and I'm not ready to give up those things. And I know to be a Muslim, I have to give up that lifestyle and I kind of like enjoy what I'm doing. But I know what the brother's saying is true. And the doctors just told me I have 24 hours. So 24 hours I'm going to say, La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So don't wait for that. And we hear all of the excuses that people give in this relationship. And the bottom line is that all of us are going to be alone. Even if you have the biggest family, all of us will be alone in the grave. All of us will have to come back to Allah. All of us will account for our deeds and actions. The only thing that will be in the grave is our deeds and actions. That's all. No matter how long we lived on this earth. So what we want to do is stockpile our good deeds. We want to stay focused on doing good, sending it out there, realizing just as a person says, well, I know hard times is coming, so I want to stockpile my food stuff for hard times. I can see the signs. I remember this happening in such and such a time. So similarly, we say, listen, I want to stockpile. This is my real bank account. I need to prepare my real insurance policy. This is the real insurance policy. This is where I'm really going to get the benefit from my money. And that's what we need to be thinking. I want to send this ahead of me so I don't come up on the day of judgment, I'm bankrupt. Zero balance. Because I spent all my time and effort only worrying and concerned about worldly possessions, materialism. And of course, today's world is orientated, isn't it, towards that. Material, focusing on the material, this material existence. Think about this. Think about your time, how you use it, where is the benefit. Or are you only getting benefit from your time here and now? Do you find yourself one day this kind of blending into the other, where sometimes you lose track of which day it is of the week? And at the same time, you're not taking the time out to pray, not to remember Allah, not to thank Allah, not to praise Allah, not to look for the mercy of Allah in your own life, not taking time out just to ask Allah to have mercy on you. And many people today are busying themselves with all kinds of activities that are just a distraction. And they become intoxicated by these activities, which continue to lead them astray until they go further and further away from the remembrance of Allah. And they have excuses and so-called justification for this. Well, I was a little busy with this, and then the next thing you know, I was 12 midnight. I had to go to bed because I had to go to work the next morning. And then I got up in the morning, and my routine started over. And one day after the other, this blends. One day this kinds of goes into the other, the night into the day. But similarly, one day we won't wake up, or we will be woke up. As an example, and the angels will be there asking us, who is your Lord? And you have to ask yourself, what will you say? Do you know? Or is it very easy for you now? Is it easy in a way that it's light on your tongue? If it is not, if you have to think about it right now, you will not be able to process it at that time. What was your religion? If you cannot say, well, I'm not really this. I don't really have a religion. I'm kind of just doing my own thing. That's all. I don't really, I have my own thing, and I don't impose myself on anyone else, and I kind of enjoy being like this. It says, and there are people who will be like this. They will say, who is this man who came to you? They said, what man? No man came to me. What are you talking about? And we say, the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ came to invite all of us to the oneness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and invite all of us to the opportunity to enter paradise. So take heed while you can, while you're living and breathing, and thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala abundantly, and try to do good every single day as much as possible. My name is Tariq Khalid. I'd like to thank you for joining us here at Sharjah Media Corporation on Doing Good, and we hope and pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is guiding everyone who looks at these programs to that was good for them in this world and the hereafter. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.